Welcome to the Rebel Radio Podcast. This is Mark.
This is Matt.
And welcome to anyone that might be viewing in on Facebook Live.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Friends at Thorskin Podcast.
Hello. Hello.
If you're British.
I'm fucking terrible at accents. But man, how are you, man?
I'm good. Tired. It's an exhausting
This is like
thing.
Mentally one of the toughest things I think any of us are going through. There's no way to not talk about it, even on a podcast where we talk about movies and comic culture. That's, of course, COVID-19 sweeping across the world. And, first off, we are doing everything we can to be safe. I know it doesn't look like we're social distancing, but me and Matt are both taking care of ourselves the best I can. Matt's working from home a lot. And, so we feel comfortable being near each other, that we're as safe as we can be. And, but we encourage you to continue to practice social distancing and wear a face mask if you need to. Wash your hands a lot. And there should be no question that everyone has clean assholes because there's no fucking toilet paper on the store shelves.
That's right.
Still. Or bleach. So there must be bleach in their butts and and using a lot of toilet
Everyone's going to have bleached, clean buttholes.
And, so everyone is stuck at home. You can't go to the movie theaters. So you're watching movies at home, playing video games, and hopefully listening to podcasts. So we feel that, we've never done a lot of Facebook Live. We've done a couple times at Compalooza and a couple of things. And so we feel like let's entertain the people on Friday nights if we can.
Why not?
And, ooh, that's like smelly.
Yes, I took it from my...
I'm going to smell sexy as a motherfucker.
It's coconut.
So, we felt like let's entertain the masses if we can when we record, and until we have to go remotely, and give you guys something to watch on a Friday. If you've already watched all the movies that are out there on demand,
everything on Disney+.
The Invisible Man and Sonic the Hedgehog, which of course are available out there to watch early now. Birds of Prey, Onward went to Disney Plus today. Frozen 2's Onward. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker hit Blu-ray this week, so a lot of people bought that and have been watching it. So we're just another form of that entertainment. Maybe a small one, but we're there. And, and I'm doing okay too, man. I'm tired. It's mentally exhausting working in the grocery business. Luckily I work in the back of the store, so I'm not having to be near a lot of customers and trying to stay as safe as I can, You
got that essential card.
Yeah, essential as a motherfucker, But, honestly, I don't feel essential. They want to use words like heroes and stuff. I'm just going to work and taking care of my family. That's the way I look at it.
Yep.
And it is what it is. And hopefully hopefully some good news. I think that's the hardest part about a lot of this. There's no good news, man.
I saw some good news.
Did you?
There in New York, there is a landlord who is refusing to charge his tenants rent. He grew up in the neighborhood. I felt like he was talking like Rocky Balboa. Grew up in the neighborhood. He doesn't want to charge him rent, so that was a cool story that I heard.
Yeah, that's good, but it just feels like with the main virus itself, doesn't feel like there's any relief coming or any good news. So hopefully we just keep, if you're a praying person, praying or spiritual, and just hope that something comes down soon, that we possibly get some good news out of all this. And I think that's the thing that everyone's looking for right now. It's just some positive news.
Yeah, something.
And
positive.
We know the scientists and the medical personnel are working their asses off to find a vaccine, to find some sort of cure, to slow it down, or to help people that are in the hospital heal them. And we just got to keep hoping every day for the best. And we're not going to beat you to death with COVID-19 because it's all over the fucking news. You hear it everywhere. We're here to have some fun and talk a movie today, as we always do. It is the sequels that made us month, where we are doing sequels to movies we've already covered on the show as we get closer to episode 200. And that's one thing. I don't want COVID-19 to fuck up our 200th episode, which is coming, because that's going to be a big one.
We had plans.
Yes, we have plans. We have that coming. Episode 199 would have been at Comic Palooza this year, and we had big plans to do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 30th anniversary, and we're still going to do that film. Maybe a little sooner than 199 though, because actually the anniversary of that movie hit in theaters was just this past week.
Oh, okay.
So that might be coming shortly after the sequels that made us month is over. So it might not be 199, but it could be 196, 197. So it's coming for sure. So some big plans on the Rebel Radio podcast. So we don't want this to screw up our plans.
No.
Yeah.
Plans.
Our plans are our plans.
Yeah.
But let's get into today's show officially, where we always tell you what we download, watched, played while we're at home in quarantine when we're not working. Lots of time to do that. What have you watched or checked out this week?
I have played more Resident Evil 2. I got a little farther, and I have come face to face with the Tyrant, if you've ever played Resident Evil 2. And this guy is way scarier than I remember in, 24-bit or 32-bit was PS2 or whatever graphics it was. But it is terrifying. He chases you around the whole mansion. You think you incapacitate him, but then he resuscitates himself, comes right back at you. One thing that I did watch other than playing that again was Dirty Dancing. And I know you say interesting, but it's like my wife had not seen Dirty Dancing. Really? And I was like, you got to see Dirty Dancing. It's a classic. I consider it a classic. I think a lot of people would consider it a classic. It's a good story. Patrick Swayze is still good in it, and I was like, I made this claim to her, this I don't know if it's a hot take, but I was like, you know what, Patrick Swayze is like the American Antonio Banderas, and she's like, explain. I was like, the man can dance, he can star in action movies, and he can kill people and stuff. I was like, and he's still a man's man, and he can still woo the ladies. I was like, with his fancy hip shake and stuff. And I was like, Antonio Banderas does the same thing, except with an accent. A cool accent. Maybe? Not too far-fetched. It's in the ballpark. They may, one may be in the stands, the other's in, on third base, but it's in the ballpark.
But Patrick Swayze was never Zorro.
He was never Zorro, but he was a
El
ghost.
Mariachi.
No, that's true. He has both of those. But he was Dalton from the Double Deuce and Ghost. No?
I like Swayze, don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
I don't know, he leaned a bit more towards like the chick side of things than Antonio did.
Yeah.
And Antonio's still acting. I mean, he was nominated this past year for an Oscar.
No, that's true.
So I mean, not that Patrick wouldn't still be acting either if we hadn't lost him. That sounded very disrespectful.
Yeah.
Antonio's still acting. Sorry, man. Fuck that one.
Whoops.
But he was Bodhi, man, and fucking Point Break is badass. One of the early movies we did when we rebooted the show.
Bodhi.
I do love Point Break.
But I think that's about it. As far as like interesting movies and interesting things, everything else, it's like, she was watching stuff.
Your wife has you doing honeydews this week.
So. Oh, a lot of honeydews.
So you don't have time to sit down
organizing.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah, I've been too tired. I sit down after we get all that stuff done, and I'm out. So that's been my week. You?
I'm going to start with the big one. I finished Star Trek Picard, and man, it's really good. It's different than your typical Next Generation Star Trek that was on television in the past. First off, it's more adult.
Yeah,
there's some language in it. It's weird to hear the F word in Star Trek, and everyone made a big deal about if Tarantino had done his Star Trek, like, was it going to be full of bad language? And well, you don't have to look that far. Not that Picard is full of bad language, but there's some bad language in it, and it's written. It's a much more serious story than maybe the Next Generation stuff always was.
Yeah,
and it's had a hell of a good finale, except for the last 20 minutes of the finale kind of took away from the climax of the finale, so to speak. And I want to say spoiler free because the season finale has only been out a week, so there's people that haven't watched it yet, and it's just like, I wouldn't have ended it like that, it was a bit too, all of a sudden, the story was already very complex, and then you throw in a lot more complexities in the last 20 minutes, and you're like, wait, hold on, wait here, what's going on? But it wasn't confusing, it was just thrown at you, and to me, it took away from the impact of the climax of the finale. But overall, man, the special effects are fantastic in it. For a television show that's done on a streaming service, they're really, really good. The starships are awesome. Some great cameos from Next Generation cast members in it. Well written, good dialogue. It's definitely not your father's Star Trek. It's not as cheesy. It's a little more adult. It makes you want to watch Discovery now. And for anybody who doesn't know, CBS All Access is doing a free month now, and I think they've extended it to 2 months. So it's not a bad deal, man. Get a couple months, and I strolled through it. There ain't shit on there to watch except for Star Trek. That, to me, looks like the only thing worth their watching. They have some other stuff on it, but just nothing that looked to interest me. If you're a fan of the old shows like Wings and Taxi, those are all on there. that CBS has owned for years.
That's
but
neat.
again, would you pay $6 a month for those to watch old shows?
Not really. Yeah.
You want new content, and but Picard is worth checking out alone. It's only 10 episodes. Man, download it. Use the gift code, and fuck it, man. Watch Star Trek Picard. It's worth it. I also watched Star Wars Rise of Skywalker again, of course, and I'm really digging that movie the more I watch it. I know the movie gets it's not as polarizing as Last Jedi, but it still has its fans that it's either love it or hate it. I just can't hate the movie, man. I mean, yeah, it's not perfect, and yeah, maybe it's a bit of fan service, but goddamn, it's fun fan service, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. I'm trying to think if I watched anything else new. I think the kids watched Batman vs. the Ninja Turtles again.
Oh, cool.
And I want to see Superman Red Sun. It came out, the newest DC animated film.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it yet. And I feel like
Superman.
Yeah, and like on Vudu it's $6 to rent. But then like the DC animated films, you can buy them for like 15. So it's like I'm always of that mind, like I could spend $9 more to just buy it, you know? That's just the way I think.
Yeah.
You know? I can't help but think like that.
I do that sometimes too. If I'm like, you know what, I want to rent this movie and watch it, and then I find out that the rental is like $3, but to buy it, it's like $5.99.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what, let's just buy it.
It just makes sense, you know? And, yeah, I mean, why not? Just go ahead and purchase it. And, but yeah, that's about it as far as new stuff. It's just Star Trek Picard, which I highly recommend watching. And now that I finished that, if I don't get too far in Discovery, I really need to get into Altered Carbon more, man. I was so looking forward to that show because I loved the first season. And I'm like you, we watched the first episode, that's kind of just stopped. But you got to think the first episode did kind of hit, then all the COVID-19 stuff hit, and I guess just kind of lost focus.
Yeah.
And then they're offering all this free stuff. HBO is offering free like month of stuff right now.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, it's limited. It's not everything that's available on HBO streaming service, but it's a lot of old stuff like The Sopranos, The Wire, several movies on there. All you have to do is make an HBO Go account, and basically you have access to the free stuff, and there's a paywall in front of all the stuff that's not free. So I'm sure there's other services out there offering some free stuff right now I'm not thinking about too.
Probably. I think Stars had something.
Well, they were offering like really good deals, like 6 months for $25.
Yeah.
Yeah, which isn't bad. I mean, it's less than $5 a month.
I got an offer from Sirius Radio for $99 for 5 years.
Damn, that's really cheap.
And I was like, holy crud. And I was like, do I really want to spend $99 on Sirius Radio?
Yeah.
I had it for a while, and it was cool because, you know, it came with the car that I bought, and then my dad renewed it for me on my birthday last year. I mean, I never really listened to it all the time. You know, sometimes I just want to stream music that I just really felt like listening to.
Right.
So I just felt like it wasn't really cost effective, even at $100 for 5 years. Because it's like I've always said that if you wouldn't buy it, if you wouldn't try and buy it at full price, then you shouldn't buy it just because it's on sale, because then really you're just trying to buy it because it's on sale.
Yeah.
And not
sense.
Because you really want it.
Yeah, I would only want it for Pearl Jam radio, you know. That's just me.
Yeah, that's a good. And they do have concerts on there. There have been times whenever Ozzy's Boneyard, the channel Ozzy's Boneyard hosted a live Disturbed concert.
Yeah.
And so you got to listen to Disturbed live. So there are cool things on there.
But it's, like you said, how much are you going to use it to justify paying for it?
Yeah.
You know, so no, I agree. But yeah, so that's about it, man. I'm going to watch some more stuff this week. I really want to rent 1917. I want to see that, the war movie. Of course, yeah, we both watched Onward last week, which is on Disney Plus today. And then Disney announced that Artemis Fowl, which was one of their big releases, is going to end up going straight to Disney Plus.
Really?
Yeah, but
Disney doesn't have any fear doing that.
No,
unless it's Marvel.
No, which we'll talk about later in the news. They moved everything basically.
Yes,
back, which was the right thing to do. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But hello again to Facebook Live people. We don't want to forget about saying hello.
Yes, hello Facebook Live. I keep looking
at the camera all creepy, and then I look back this way because I'm very introverted, and I feel like there's tiny people inside the camera looking at me.
Little gerbils inside the camera.
Hello, who's on there listening?
It is Jesus Gomez. He is watching.
Oh, hello, Jesse.
Friend
Jesse has a little Gomez. He's gonna be like, "Fuck that white boy," you know. And is that and your cousin, right? Or one of your family members?
Yeah, he popped on.
It was in Arizona.
Yes, in Arizona.
So
Not an areola.
No.
That's the area around the nipple.
We just don't want to forget about the Facebook Live people. But you still better listen to the show on Monday when it gets officially released. Okay? You don't get out easy just because you're listening to the live show on Facebook. You still have to listen to the show in audio form too, because we said so. And what the fuck else do you have to do? You're staying at home. So you sit and you listen to our podcast on Monday when it gets released. I expect people to be awake at 7 a.m. when it hits their podcast app. By the way, which you can find our show at therebelradiopodcast.com and on all apps. Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean, all that good stuff. There's no excuse not to listen to the Rebel Radio Podcast. Middle of the show plug. How do you like them apples?
Boom.
So, yeah, let's get into today's featured film. As the Sequels That Made Us month continues on the Rebel Radio Podcast, as we cover sequels that are movies we already covered on the show. And back in the early part of the reboot a couple years ago, we did Batman, and last week we did Batman Returns. And part of the early part of the reboot, we did the original Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
One of my favorite all-time sci-fi films and franchises. So today we are doing the sequel, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. One thing I like about the Ape series, they have the epic fucking titles, like Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Conquest.
War for the Planet of the Apes in the new series.
Order pizza for the Planet of the Apes.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
So summarize this film for us, Matt.
So this is a continuation. We start this film off with the ending of the first film. So if for some reason you skipped the first film and you watched the second film, they just spoiled it for you.
Basically.
So this takes off right after one, except they get the continuity wrong. So they say it's 1950, or they say it's 3955 when it's supposed to be 3978, I believe.
Right.
So this follows not Taylor. Taylor gets lost in the beginning of the film, and then Brent, I believe it's Brent, is this guy's name, the other astronaut, and he's trying to find Taylor because he finds Nova and discovers that there is an underground city of people, and the apes want to go into the forbidden zone where these people are and eradicate the rest of the humans because, as the general says, the only good human is a dead human. And so they are just after humans, and the chimpanzees don't want anything to do with it, but there's too little of them, and the apes just want the violence, they want the war. And they march on towards the humans, which are really mutants. Right. Find out that they're really mutants. They're wearing these cool face masks.
Right.
You know, I'm used to seeing Leatherface's face masks all stitched together. These guys, it's like it looked like they were really, really human. But even though they're intelligent, I guess the only reason they got intelligent was because,
evolved or something.
Yeah, from the radiation.
Yeah.
And they praise this giant missile, this atomic bomb, because it gave them their knowledge and their evolution. And it's crazy. There's like some crystals on the bottom of it that kind of looks like the set to Superman or something, the Christopher Reeve Superman, and eventually everything just blows up, and that's it.
Well, because Charlton Heston's character from the first one, he cameos at the beginning of the movie. He falls into the Forbidden Zone.
Yes.
Then he shows back up at the end of the movie because he's there with these mutant humans, and he is basically there for 1 minute. And he gets shot, and he sets off the bomb. It's weird. Because Charlton Heston wanted nothing to do with the sequel, really. He was against sequels. He was a one-and-done type actor.
Yeah.
Sequels at this time were still kind of a new thing. Sequels, Eastwood had done them with, the Good and Bad and the Ugly trilogy, but they weren't really a common thing in Hollywood yet. And, but they paid Heston a hell of a lot of money for his few minutes of screen time in this.
Yeah, they did.
And he said that, I'll come back and I'll make a cameo, but I'm only going to work a couple of days, and I want a full salary. I mean, they paid him.
Yeah. They paid the man, even though he had 18 minutes of screen time. And just to reinforce that he did not want anything to do with this film, he donated his salary to charity.
Yeah.
So that was really cool of him.
And then the actor that they got to play the lead
Brent.
in this. Yeah, Brent.
Yep.
They made sure he looked like Charlton Heston.
Yeah.
Which was bizarre because they felt like audiences would not go see a sequel without Heston in it. So here they are, and they introduce a brand new character, but yet he kind of looks like Charlton Heston. But yet he's not. And that was a selling thing they did back then in films. They were trying to sell it to audiences because sequels. We talked about this at the end of last week's show. We previewed it. Like now, if a film does well at the box office, they'll throw money at for a sequel. Like John Wick 2 is going to have a higher budget. But back then, sequels had a lower budget. This film was almost $5 million less than the first film.
Yep.
And that's
Slashed.
why a lot of the apes, there's no makeup in this. It's a lot of mask. Mm-hmm. It gets even worse when you get into not so much Escape from the Planet of the Apes. There's only like 3 apes in it. At the end, but Conquest from Planet of the Apes, it's like just guys in like gloves and masks. It's really bad as you go on in the series to save money, and it shows in this episode too. But this episode, I think, chose to focus a little more action in this one.
This one has more action.
And it chose to focus more on Nova's story, where she left off at the end of the last one, as she travels with Brent into the Forbidden Zone.
Yeah.
So they chose to focus things a little bit different in this one.
She is the worst GPS, by the way. He's like, take me to the tailor. And she was like, let me take you to the city where apes are talking about killing humans.
Right.
And so it's like, no, that's the opposite of where we want to go. And then on top of that, the fight scenes that you're talking about, they've got no music.
Yeah.
There's music leading up to the fight scenes, and then when people are fighting, there's no music.
Again, which are budget reasons, I think, probably, as I'm guessing.
They didn't have the rights to, like, Star Trek or something? They could take the Star Trek fight scenes with the Klingons and stuff.
Right. And do something. And, it is bizarre how this film was put together. Like, they try really hard in this movie to give you a good sequel, but it fails on a lot of levels because it's so similar to the first one, I think.
Yeah.
In some ways. It's a very similar storyline. It makes no sense to, like he says, why she leads him back to the ape city. It's like, wait, why would you go there? And then the apes are still, like, mad at each other. Like you said, the one group wants nothing to do with anything. The other one's just to take it over, and they throw all this at you, and it doesn't really quite make sense. And all of a sudden, you have these mutant humans. Like, where were they in the first movie?
Yeah. Where were these things?
It's just like they're there. Like, and yeah, I don't know. This movie is not perfect. It's not a terrible sequel. It's kind of middle of the road.
It's a little bit more of a rehash, and then you've got some cheesy graphics.
Yeah.
Except for the earthquake. The earthquake was actually
the
good.
earthquake and the lightning and stuff. All that's pretty good.
And then there's just some weird stuff in it, like, let's play this weird music and make you kiss Nova even though you don't want to.
Right.
It's like, he wanted to kiss Nova. Why is he, like, forcing himself not to kiss her?
Yeah.
It's like she's like the only woman on Earth.
And then at the beginning of the film, it's like, what's the point in Skipper? It's like, he's there just to have another astronaut on the ship, and then he dies. Like, if they would have at least had him get to the ape city and the apes killed him, okay, that makes sense. But, like, okay, we introduced you and now you're dead. It didn't make any sense. Like, it was almost just to have another human character in the film. Probably. And to show that there's 2 people piloting the ship instead of 1. And, I thought that was strange when I was rewatching.
And maybe some unneeded emotional stuff at the beginning with the Brett character. But, I mean, overall, this film led to, what, 4 other sequels?
Well, the movie was a massive success at the box office. It made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, what, $23 million, I think it was at the time?
Million. Yeah,
on a budget of, like, 10, so it made a lot of money for back then.
Yeah.
And I think the budget might have been less than 10. It might have been like 7 or 8 for this one.
Yeah, they definitely slashed it into high single digits.
And they put the next sequel into production right away because back then, with movies and stuff, they would build these sets and they would film things very quickly. That's why there was a James Bond movie almost every year, because they would reuse the sets because they already spent money on them, so they didn't want to have to tear them down and rebuild them.
Yeah.
And so these films were filmed almost back to back to back in some ways, and movies were filmed a lot quicker back then. I think I guess an average movie nowadays is still 60 to 90 days, but even back then, 30 to 60 days. They filmed these things very quickly.
Yeah.
And
some of the stuff in one take.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it shows.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
It does show.
And but the movie did well at the box office, and it led to, like you said, on to 3 more sequels. The next sequel actually is a very good film, Escape from the Planet of the Apes. It's probably the best of the sequels.
Is that? Yeah,
that's one where they come back to the past or Earth, and Ricardo Montalban is like the circus guy, and he
and then they stand
him.
before Congress, and they're like, "Who are you?" And then the girl's like, "I am forget her name. Crap. But she says her name, and the politician's like, "Oh, that's great for a parrot trick." And she's like, "Parrot?" And then he goes, "You, sir, do you talk?" And he goes, "Only when she lets me." And it's like you've got this humor, you've got some campiness there, and that film was, I think, may have been better than this one.
Yeah.
In that aspect, you had a lot more color in that film.
Mm-hmm. And it, even though it has a very dark ending to it, but yet it still works as a film because it's much more of a character study.
Yeah.
You get to know Roddy McDowall's character. And what's funny is Roddy McDowall, this is the only Apes film that he doesn't appear in, is Beneath the Planet of the Apes. But yet he was using a lot of the marketing for the film because he's the most popular actor in the series.
Oh, yeah.
Like his facial, his ape face and stuff was used in a lot of DVDs and even late marketing in the series, even though he's not even in this film, which is kind of funny. He was asked to be in the film, but scheduling conflicts kept him from being in it.
Oh, okay.
So they, I think there's another character in this one where they got a lot of the lines that were written for,
Cornelius. Yeah, Cornelius. The guy who starts out at the beginning reading the passage, "Man only wants hamburgers and destruction," or something like that. And then it's like, I was like, okay, man, it was cool the first time. You know, you don't have to do it again at the beginning of this film to tie in my interest. And then you had Cornelius saying, I think the other line that he has in this film that's cool is the if they hear you talking, they will dissect you and then they will kill you in that order.
Interesting to know in this film though is for all 5 Planet of the Apes films all went to #1 at the box office, which is pretty wild considering the times. Wild. This movie spent 2 weeks at #1. It made 3.5, almost 3.6 million its first week, and this blows my mind. The second week it was out, it made 3.1 million. That's not even
consistent.
Yeah, not even a 10% drop. You know, that's pretty wild because now, man, even a big movie like Avengers Endgame, which did $270 million opening weekend, dropped to like 150 the second week. You know, that was almost a 50% drop.
I think it was just at that time in
movies
the world,
stayed in theaters longer. There wasn't as much out,
and people just wanted to see apes beat up on humans. I mean, King Kong was made how many times?
Oh well, not only that though. You think about a movie like The Planet of the Apes for the times in the late 60s and 70s. These movies were unlike anything we'd ever seen before. You know, nowadays special effects and apes or dinosaurs or whatever come to life is very commonplace. But back then, this was escapism of the finest kind. You know, you could only see this in theaters, and you couldn't. And people, that's what they went to theaters for, to escape. Now we take it for granted. You know, and now we really take it for granted now because we can't even go to the theaters right now during the pandemic.
Yeah,
and. But to see apes come to life or dinosaurs is no big deal anymore. But back then, this was a really big deal, and that's why the series was as successful as it was. And it went on to spawn not only 3 more sequels after this, a live-action television series, an animated series, comic books, several action figures put out by Mego in the 70s.
And a musical number starred at the beginning of The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius.
I mean, it went on to be remade by Tim Burton with the Mark Wahlberg film.
The Mark
which
Wahlberg.
Isn't a terrible film. It's just not a great film either.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have the current iteration, the Rise of the Planet of the Apes series, which were really, really good. Yeah, and Disney's already talking about doing a 4th one, and they're not going to reboot it. It is going to be a continuation of War for the Planet of the Apes. And I think that's what stands the test of time, is that the Planet of the Apes takes us to a world that we can't get if we don't get it in theaters or on television. And I think that's why it intrigues a lot of people. And it deals with a lot of things that are close, like it deals with racism and acceptance of others and who they are, and different ethnic groups and things like that. And it hits home, but without being, I always felt the Planet of the Apes did a good job of that without being preachy. You know, they made their statement about what they were and the things that were going on in the world, and you got it without them throwing it in your face like, oh, this is the way humans should act, you know. I think they did a good job with that.
No, I agree, and that's kind of like whenever I was in school, there was a book called Mouse, and it's a graphic novel, and all the bad guys, it's about World War II, and all the Nazis are cats, and all the Jews are mice, and it's like you kind of pay attention to just the, like a different aspect of it, and you look at it different whenever you take the human element out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this movie, seeing the apes and the humans interact, you definitely do get that.
Yeah.
And the point is made.
Yeah. And a budget of approximately They said 2.5 million, but they believed it was closer to about 4.7. But then it made its money way back, so it did very well at the box office.
Yeah, it's like 4 times its money back.
Mm-hmm. And
it's pretty good for fake masks and the train station that was supposed to be above ground but was really below ground.
Right. Which was they reused sets from Hello Dolly for that.
I saw that.
And things like that. But yeah, no, I think Beneath the Planet of the Apes is a decent sequel. Not a great sequel.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too much like the first one, which, I get why the writers did that. Continue where you had this epic ending in the first one, which blew everyone's mind. I mean, that ending still gets me, even though you know what's going to happen. Every time you watch it, you're like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So they played off that element, which makes sense that they would do that as they continue into the second one. And I just felt like maybe it could have taken the series more places than it did. And that's one thing I always liked about Conquest and Battle for the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, they're low budget, they're really cheesy B films, but I felt they took the series further in places than Beneath was able to do. But Escape makes up for it on the next one very much. And that DVD set I let you borrow, the DVDs worked, right?
Yeah, they worked.
Watch the documentary on that 6 discs on there, Behind the Planet of the Apes, whatever it's called. It's one of the best film documentaries you'll ever watch. It was produced by AMC. Back when AMC was American Movie Classics.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really, really, really good, Matt. I trust me, watch it. You'll really like it. It used to be, when none of the Apes movies I think are streaming right now because they got bought by Disney.
Yeah.
And maybe the documentary will show up for other people who are listening to the show on Facebook Live or whatever. Maybe if Disney puts those on Disney Plus eventually, that documentary will make it on there. But it's worth your hour and a half to watch that documentary because it's such a great insight to the Planet of the Apes series. And it's all hosted by Roddy McDowall because he filmed it all before he passed away. So definitely worth watching the documentary on that disc set. But I think overall though, I give Beneath the Planet of the Apes I think it's a solid B.
I would say B's fair.
Yeah, it's not quite A category because it's just not perfect enough. It's still a very imaginative film, a very exciting film, but it just doesn't do quite enough to live up to the original's hype. And that's also a product of the time. Nowadays, you get a sequel, you're expecting bigger and better. Back then, it was a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, how do you top just Charlton Heston being Charlton Heston?
Just Charlton Heston, but also just the Planet of the Apes, the first time you will see that film, and the apes are chasing the humans in the grass, and they first reveal their faces. It's just like watching Jurassic Park for the first time, or Michael Keaton's Batman for the first time. It's just one of those things you can never recreate.
Yeah.
It's one of those great moments in cinemas when the first time you see these things happen. And this is one of those films, like the original Planet of the Apes is one of those films that people ask you, what movie would you love to see again for the first time and experience? It might be one of those movies because it's such an experience. And so you can't capture that again in a sequel. All you can do is play off what happened in the first one and hope that you do well enough that people come see it. And they did.
Yeah.
The movie made a lot of money and went on to have 3 more sequels. And they were all successful. It's still one of the most successful series of all time.
That's true. I mean, and heck, hopefully we get that 4th film.
Yeah.
Obviously they're not going to be filming right now.
No.
And we'll get into that.
But I really like the new series a lot, so I hope that we get this 4th one made.
Didn't we also get an animated TV show on this?
There is a Planet of the Apes animated series in the 70s, and it's one of those animated series where they used a lot of stock footage animation. There's a lot of animated scenes that don't move because they only move certain characters, but it's really well written, and it's closer to the original Planet of the Apes book. It's where they live in like houses, and the apes have this whole society and stuff. You can get it on DVD fairly cheap. I have it on DVD somewhere. And it was only ran like 13 episodes or something, but it's actually pretty good.
Oh, okay.
And it's an interesting watch. There was also a live action Planet of the Apes TV series, which kind of retells the story of the movie in a bit of a way, but it's really good too. And it's only about 13 episodes also. And it was really well done. So yeah, the series spawned a lot of stuff. So yeah.
And merchandise.
Always. They're still making Planet of the Apes merchandise today.
Yeah.
I think NECA has the license and they still make figures and toys.
I think I've seen a Caesar.
Yeah.
I know I've seen a Caesar.
So yeah. So good stuff. Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Watch it if you've never seen it.
Yes, please.
I mean, honestly, if you're a movie fan, and you love science fiction, the Planet of the Apes series is a series of films you should take the time to watch. It should be on your bucket list of films. So
I agree.
But yeah, so let's get into some news today. Hollywood, things continue to be affected by COVID-19. A movie I was really looking forward to this summer, Top Gun, has now been pushed back to Christmas time.
Yep.
I don't know. Did we talk about last week? Wonder Woman got pushed back to August.
Yes.
And
about that.
And now Marvel has made a huge move this week, as they have basically moved every fucking thing they have. And I have a list somewhere here that shows me when they moved all these movies to. So Marvel Cinematic Universe, Black Widow has moved back to November 6th of this year. The Eternals has moved back to February of next year. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings has moved back just a couple months from February to May of next year. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness has moved from May to November of next year. Thor Love and Thunder has moved to February of 22. Black Panther 2 has moved back a couple months to May of 2022. And Captain Marvel, July 8th of 2022. So it kind of makes sense they did that. Just go ahead and shift the whole schedule.
Yeah.
There were rumors about Black Widow going straight to Disney Plus, but I never believed those rumors.
No.
There's too much relying on the MCU. And let's hope that by November things are better and we get to follow this release schedule. A Quiet Place 2, which we covered A Quiet Place a couple weeks ago, has been moved back to November 4th of this year. So they did announce that release date. Again, we said Top Gun is moved back to Christmas time.
Yes.
I believe December 20th or 21st of this year. That was a movie I was really looking forward to, so I'm definitely excited that hopefully by December we're able to go to theaters and see it.
A movie that I was really looking forward to that got moved was Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah.
They moved Ghostbusters to next year. I forget what month, though.
I know exactly when, because it's kind of exciting. My middle son loves Ghostbusters, as you know, and they moved it to his birthday, March 5th of next year. And I told him that. He was upset they moved it, but then when I told him it was on his birthday, he was like, "Oh, right." And of course he said, "Dad, we're going to go see it on my birthday." And of course I said, "Yes, we definitely will."
Absolutely.
So he was excited for that. So, this is definitely affecting things in Hollywood. A lot of shows have stopped production, a lot of movies. The Matrix sequel has stopped temporary production. Apparently Mission Impossible 6 and 7, or 7 and 8 that they're filming back to back, has picked production back up. But I guess they were able to close the sets on the Mission Impossible films they're doing. So I guess they're able to still film. Interesting that that's happened. Because a lot of things are shut down right now. Films. Indiana Jones 5, it got pushed back into 2022, which means Harrison Ford will be 80 years old when that film hits theaters.
Holy crap.
That's still a film. Like, I love Indiana Jones, but I also feel like, just stop. I've said this before. Not necessarily reboot it, recast it.
Yeah.
That's just my thoughts on it.
Make it like a Bond thing.
Yeah. And now video games are getting affected. There was a big Iron Man VR game coming from Sony for their VR that it's been pushed back indefinitely. And a super highly anticipated game, The Last of Us Part 2, has been postponed indefinitely. The weird part is their reasoning. They said, for economic and logistical reasonings right now, we're choosing to push The Last of Us Part 2 back indefinitely. I don't understand what that means. Logistics? What?
That sounds like maybe they feel like, okay, GameStop's probably closed, right?
Right.
Best Buy's probably closed.
But everyone's at home right now. You can download these games directly to your system.
Yeah.
It feels like, I think maybe logistically, they meant because the game deals with characters that are infected. Maybe they felt it was insensitive to the world, but I also feel that it's escapism for the world right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want this game, myself included.
You know who doesn't care about people feeling sensitive about infected and stuff like that? Voodoo, because they made Contagion free to watch this month. And it's a movie where there is a disease that is passed easily and they don't have a cure for it. And the streets are empty and people have to stay home and stuff. So guess what? Voodoo doesn't care. So PlayStation shouldn't care.
I know. I just don't get, like, I think they should release this game because people want it.
Yeah.
It feels like the last great game that's going to come out on the PS4 before the PS5 comes out.
I don't know.
And,
Resident Evil 3 Remake is coming out on PS4.
Yeah, but I'm talking great games. Remakes are, I'm talking like brand new content.
It's a great game. Not a new game.
That's what I'm saying. I'm talking new stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm a little disappointed in that. But what do you do? I'm glad I was thinking about pre-ordering it too, and I hadn't yet. But now I'm like, well, fuck, guess not.
Yeah.
Marvel Unlimited has made a bunch of their comics free. So if you feel like reading comics, you can download Marvel Unlimited on your phone or your iPad or your tablet or whatever and read a bunch of comics. We talked earlier about HBO making a lot of content free right now for people to watch. So download HBO Go or HBO Now and make you an account. And It's free. A lot of stuff free right now. There's things. There's a paywall blocking the things that aren't free. Again, CBS All Access. You get a month, maybe 2, I think, free with code GIFT, and watch Star Trek Picard or Discovery on there. San Diego Comic-Con, as of now, is still on for July, but they are monitoring the situation, and a lot of people think that it's going to be shut down.
Wow.
July feels still a little too close. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe that miracle will happen that we are all waiting for to occur. David Sandberg gave an update on Shazam 2. It was supposed to have started filming here in the next couple of months, but now they're waiting to see what happens when they start filming Shazam 2. The Rock's Black Adam movie that feels like it's never going to get made is probably going to be a casualty too during all this, because filming for it was supposed to also start this summer.
Wow.
And it may get pushed back. And now I guess apparently he's talking about doing a Hobbs and Shaw too. Just stop with those fucking movies, for crying out loud. Jesus Christ, man. I mean, they already pushed back the Fast and Furious 9 to next year. Just enough with those films, But as far as news goes, I mean, that's the big thing. It's just a lot of movies moving around. Not a lot of big news this week. There's lots to watch out there, though. You can watch lots of things on Disney+. The Clone Wars is out. We mentioned earlier that Artemis Fowl is going to be coming to Disney+. Keep an eye out on Amazon Prime in May. All the movies that were not shown at South by Southwest, well, not all of them. What Amazon Prime is doing is they're going to invite any movies that were going to show at South by Southwest to show them on Amazon Prime as a mini movie festival, streaming your own home. So they haven't announced what films yet because they're waiting to see. And hopefully some of the headliner films take the opportunity to show their films at home on Amazon Prime. So it's going to be an at-home South by Southwest Amazon Prime movie festival. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that's, as far as news, well, that's about all that's really going on right now.
I got one more thing.
You got something?
Comicpalooza released that you can actually support the artists that, created prints and created, product and materials to take to Comicpalooza. You can go to their art section on the Comicpalooza website, and you can buy from these local artists. And these artists that were really depending on the Comic-Con to produce them revenue and produce them new business. And you can go to Comicpalooza and get that.
Yes.
I made a purchase from the Underground Forest, the Land of the Rats. I got myself a glass and a button, because who doesn't need another beer glass? You know?
And there's artists out there that do like not just drawing, but like fabric arts and things like that. Like I have a friend, Cynthia Vale, on Facebook. They do comic book, arts and crafts and things, and you can order masks from them right now. So if you're looking for a mask, she sells a mask on her website, and I don't know her website, but you can always shoot me a message on Facebook, and I'll send you her way. And she's making masks and send them out to people right now, trying to do her part and make a little money too. Because we got small businesses are important, especially the genre we love, comics and art and stuff like that, and to support these guys. And that is an awesome thing that Comicpalooza is doing.
Yeah.
We're disappointed we're not going to be able to do our live show at Comicpalooza this year, but that's why we're doing some other things. Facebook Live, bringing it to people, and maybe get to see what would have been a live show. We hope we can get back to Misfit Toys soon and do a live show there. We were going to do one this month, but we decided not to move forward with it because of everything that's going on. So hopefully before long things are back to normal and we can get back to doing the things we love on a daily basis. But before we do get out of here, let's preview next week's film. As we continue on with the movies... the sequel. I'm going to say the movies that made us is the TV show, which I totally fucking stole their thing from that. The sequels that made us month. And we're going to stick with comic books next week and talk a really good comic book sequel. Arguably, to me, still the best film in that series, other than Logan. And that is X-Men 2.
You have to understand, we thought Bobby was going to a school for the gifted.
Bobby is gifted. You should see what he can do. Have you tried not being a mutant?
Since the discovery of their existence, mutants have been regarded with fear, suspicion, often hatred.
Drop the knives and put your hands in the air.
I can't.
Are they the next link in the evolutionary chain? Or simply a new species of humanity fighting for their share of the world?
What do you need, William?
Just your authorization for a special operation, Mr. President.
We've managed to gather evidence of a mutant training facility in upstate New York.
This facility is a school. Sure it is. Nobody really knows how many even exist, or how to find them, except you. Who are you?
I keep feeling something terrible is about to happen.
I would never let anything happen to you.
It's about to get very cold in here.
I need you to read my mind.
Sometimes the mind needs to discover things for itself.
They say you're the bad guy.
Is that what they said? What a talent you have, then.
Most people will never know anything beyond what they see.
I have faith in you.
The next time you feel like showing off, don't.
I used to think you were one of a kind, Wolverine. I was wrong.
Yes.
Some people want to call it X2, X-Men United. I never called it that. I've always called it X-Men 2.
Yeah.
X-Men 2, I remember watching it, and I remember seeing the first X-Men film, and I liked it, because Wolverine's probably my second favorite comic book character next to Batman, as people know. But then I saw X-Men 2, and I was really blown away. It was the X-Men movie I'd been waiting my whole life for. Wolverine doing his thing. We got Nightcrawler in there. Pyro. We got Professor X doing Professor X things. X-Men 2 has it all, and it's a really good fucking film. And going to be a fun one to talk about next week on the show. Because it's, the X-Men series got a little bit convoluted and crazy with all the different continuities and different characters that appeared. But there's a couple of real gems in there, and X-Men 2 is one of them that you can argue is still a top 10 comic book film overall. One of the better films in the genre. So we're going to talk that next week on the show as the sequels that made us continue. And continue to bring you guys entertainment to the world and escape a little bit for 45 minutes to an hour with us. Whether it's on Facebook Live or if you download the show to your favorite app and listen to it, we always appreciate it. And in the midst of all this, I'm working on creating some new T-shirts for the site. If you want to support us by buying that, and we do have a Patreon for just $2 a month. You can get exclusive episodes every month. Dropping probably this weekend is our first mini-cast, as our good friend Arnold is back. He used to review comics for us. Well, he's going to do some little short movie reviews for us. And he is reviewing Clint Eastwood's The Deadpool this weekend. That will drop to Patreon members. So you have to join Patreon to hear that for just $2 a month, and it helps support the show.
Yes.
And we do appreciate that. And so go to the rebelradiopodcast.com, and you can find the link for the Patreon there and all our other episodes. And we do appreciate it and all that you do for us. And we appreciate... we appreciate being able to do this for you guys and do it a live show on Facebook Live, and we appreciate you listening to the show, because without you guys there wouldn't be a show.
That's right.
If we didn't listen. But most importantly, stay safe, wash your hands, keep your butt clean, which you should be able to with all that toilet paper.
Yep.
I'm just going to keep fucking making butt jokes every week, so get used to it, people. Matt, you smirk at me every time I make like a butt joke. But I'm still wrapping my mind around the amount of fucking toilet paper people are buying. Even now, weeks later, we get it in, and it's just gone. It's like, how much shitting are these people doing?
A lot.
Like the paper towels I can kind of justify because people are cleaning and wiping things down, but how much paper do they need to wipe their butt? I don't know. Butt jokes are just going to be... Butt jokes are always funny.
That's true. That's like dick jokes and fart jokes. They'll never get old.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, But thank you guys, as always, for listening. Thank you guys on Facebook Live for hanging out with us. I saw Francisco, friend of the show, a long-time co-worker of ours that we've known for several years, popped in there.
Brandon.
And he's always been a good supporter of the show. Brandon. Yeah.
Jesse.
Yeah. Yeah, Jesse Hazels. Yeah. He's like fucking white boy. I already know. And but we thank you guys for tuning in. And maybe if we're not remote recording next week, we'll do it again.
Yes.
And actually, there's a way we can do it. We'll have to figure that out. We'll talk about it after the show.
Yeah, we'll get technical stuff.
But as always, thank you for listening. This has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
And thank you for listening to Rebel Radio Podcast. And as always, remember, just go there and do it.
This is James O'Barr on Rebel Radio. Thanks for listening.
Sam Jones, Flash Gordon, and this is Rebel Radio Podcast.